There are moments in life that stand apart from ordinary experience, moments that demand the full attention of the soul and cannot be shared casually with others. In these moments, there is a feeling that something larger than oneself is guiding the course of events, a sense of divine timing that aligns circumstances with precision. It is as if the universe pauses for a brief instant to allow awareness to catch up with destiny. Being called to witness something alone is not a matter of privilege, but of readiness. It is a signal that the observer is prepared to engage fully, to meet the message without distraction, and to receive insight that may alter perception, purpose, or direction. This solitude is not a punishment, but a rare opportunity to step out of the ordinary flow of life and encounter truth in its most potent form. To watch alone is to honor the moment and the message, to recognize that some revelations are too profound to be diluted by the presence of others. The act of observing becomes an act of devotion, a silent agreement to pay attention with complete awareness. In solitude, one can experience the depth of clarity that is otherwise unattainable, where every detail resonates with meaning and every subtle nuance carries significance. The chosen moment demands not just sight, but presence, a willingness to engage with both awe and humility, to receive fully without interference or preconceived notions. The weight of being chosen in such a way is not to be underestimated, for it brings with it both responsibility and the challenge of readiness. It is a reminder that life operates on multiple levels, with some layers visible and others revealed only to those willing to pause, focus, and engage. Solitude provides a sacred space where insight can emerge naturally, where the mind and spirit align, and where intuition can operate without distraction. This encounter asks for silence, not merely of surroundings, but of expectation, of doubt, of the urge to analyze prematurely. To watch alone is to create a field of attention that allows the message to arrive fully, without distortion. The intensity of such moments can be overwhelming, producing a mix of fear, wonder, and anticipation. Yet these emotions are markers of significance, a signal that the observer is in the presence of something transformative. In this focused solitude, the observer learns to listen beyond words, to sense patterns, connections, and meanings that remain hidden in ordinary perception. Every gesture, every shift, every subtle impression carries purpose. It is in this concentrated attention that understanding begins, in the quiet space where the observer and the revelation meet without interference. This solitary engagement is also a test of inner readiness, a measure of the ability to receive without distraction or dilution. It teaches patience, presence, and reverence for what is beyond ordinary comprehension. Being chosen to witness alone is not about isolation, but about creating the conditions for clarity. It is a practice of attentiveness, a cultivation of the capacity to recognize significance, to honor the moment, and to respond with thoughtful reflection rather than impulsive reaction. In these moments, insight is not imposed, but revealed, unfolding naturally to the one who is prepared to watch fully. The act of watching alone is an invitation to meet truth in its purest form, to allow it to resonate, transform, and guide, leaving a lasting impression on both heart and mind. The idea of being chosen carries a meaning that goes beyond recognition or personal accomplishment. It is not about status, reward, or external validation, but about readiness to encounter a truth that is larger than ordinary perception. Life is layered with experiences, some visible to all, and some reserved for those prepared to engage fully, consciously, and without distraction. Being chosen to witness something alone is a profound responsibility because it signals that the observer has reached a point where attention, understanding, and presence are aligned. This is not a casual invitation. It is a sacred opportunity to engage with insight, revelation, or awareness in its purest form. Solitude, in this context, is essential. It creates the conditions for full absorption, for the mind and spirit to synchronize with what is being revealed. The chosen moment is fleeting, often subtle, and yet powerful, demanding presence and receptivity without interference from external noise, social expectations, or personal bias. It is an intimate encounter between observer and truth, where every nuance, every detail carries weight and meaning, and where the capacity to receive fully becomes a test of readiness, patience, and humility. To witness alone is to step into a rare space where clarity is not fragmented but concentrated, allowing the observer to perceive layers of significance that might otherwise remain hidden. Being chosen in this way challenges the individual to cultivate awareness and stillness, because the encounter is as much about inner preparedness as external circumstance. Solitude is not imposed. It is a tool for alignment, a mechanism that allows the observer to absorb the full weight of the message without distraction or dilution. This moment requires a suspension of judgment and expectation, a willingness to let the revelation unfold naturally without forcing comprehension or interpretation. The intensity of such an experience can stir emotions ranging from awe to uncertainty, yet it is precisely this emotional resonance that marks its significance. The chosen one learns to navigate the delicate balance between curiosity and surrender, between focus and openness, allowing the message to reach its intended depth. Each detail observed in solitude is imbued with purpose, and each subtle impression contributes to a broader understanding. Being entrusted with this moment is both a gift and a responsibility, for the insight gained carries the potential to reshape perception, inform decisions, and guide future actions. Solitude, then, is not isolation, but preparation, a space where attention, intention, and awareness converge to allow the observer to witness fully. Ultimately, the act of being chosen to witness alone emphasizes the importance of presence, reflection, and inner readiness. It is a call to prioritize engagement over distraction, understanding over assumption, and attentiveness over haste. This experience teaches that some truths demand a sacred focus, an uninterrupted encounter where insight can be absorbed and integrated. Being chosen is not about privilege, but about being prepared to meet the extraordinary with clarity, humility, and receptivity. In this quiet observation, the observer is invited to see, sense, and understand with a depth that ordinary circumstances rarely allow, transforming a fleeting moment into a lasting impression that informs thought, behavior, and purpose. The solitary witness becomes an active participant in a process of revelation, where observation itself is a form of devotion, attention a form of respect, and understanding a gift earned through readiness and presence. Watching alone is not merely an act of physical solitude, it is a deliberate engagement with clarity and presence. In solitude, the observer has the rare opportunity to align mind, heart, and spirit without interference from external distractions. The world is often noisy, filled with demands, opinions, and interruptions that can obscure meaning, dilute insight, and fragment understanding. Yet in this chosen stillness, the mind can focus fully, the spirit can attune, and the essence of the message can reveal itself without distortion. Solitude provides a sacred lens, allowing each detail, gesture, or shift in circumstance to be perceived with precision. The act of observing alone heightens awareness and sharpens intuition, creating space for comprehension that is both profound and transformative. This engagement is not passive, it is active, requiring the observer to remain attentive, patient, and open to every nuance. Every moment becomes a mirror reflecting the observer's readiness to receive, interpret, and integrate insight. The chosen moment experienced in solitude demands a willingness to embrace uncertainty, to encounter messages that may challenge assumptions, and to engage fully with what is being revealed. To watch alone is to practice reverence for the moment, honoring the importance of attention and presence as essential tools for understanding. The solitary witness does not simply see, the witness absorbs, reflects, and participates in the unfolding of meaning. Solitude also functions as a crucible for inner alignment, demanding a suspension of judgment and expectation. The chosen observer is invited to engage without interference from the noise of thought, the pressure of social influence, or the urge to interpret prematurely. This space allows insight to emerge naturally, without the influence of bias or external validation. Observing alone enhances sensitivity, enabling the observer to detect subtle patterns, relationships, and truths that would otherwise remain hidden in collective distraction. Emotional intensity often accompanies such moments, a mix of awe, curiosity, and even apprehension, signaling the importance of what is being witnessed. These emotions are not obstacles but markers of engagement, signaling that the experience is significant and demanding attention. Through this heightened focus, the observer learns the value of patience, the power of presence, and the discipline of silent receptivity. The act of watching alone cultivates the ability to discern meaning, integrate insight, and recognize the weight of revelation, preparing the observer to respond thoughtfully and intentionally. Ultimately, the experience of observing alone transforms both perception and understanding. It teaches that certain truths cannot be fully grasped in the presence of distraction or shared expectation, and that attention, when focused, is a conduit for clarity and insight. The solitary act of observation emphasizes the sacredness of presence, the importance of awareness, and the transformative power of attentiveness. In this space, the observer becomes both witness and participant, engaging with truth directly and without dilution. Solitude is not isolation, but a necessary condition for insight, a practice of mindfulness and receptivity that allows the message to resonate deeply. To watch alone is to honor the moment, respect the revelation, and embrace the responsibility of presence, transforming a brief encounter into a lasting imprint on understanding, purpose, and awareness. The experience of being chosen often brings with it an intensity that cannot be ignored. There is a sense of awe, anticipation, and sometimes even fear, because the message being revealed is larger than ordinary experience. These emotions are not accidental. They signal the significance of what is being witnessed and the importance of full engagement. To be chosen to observe alone is to step into a moment that demands both courage and receptivity. It is natural for the mind to wrestle with uncertainty, for questions and doubts to arise, but these feelings are part of the process, markers of the depth and power of the encounter. The intensity invites focus, drawing the observer into alignment with the message, ensuring that attention is undivided and comprehension is authentic. Every subtle detail, every shift, every nuance holds meaning, and the observer must learn to navigate these layers with awareness and humility. Being chosen is not a casual invitation. It is a call to rise above ordinary distraction and fully embrace the extraordinary moment. The chosen one is asked not merely to watch, but to feel, sense, and integrate the experience, understanding that it is both a gift and a challenge. The emotional weight reinforces the importance of presence, reminding the observer that what is being witnessed is transformative, demanding reflection, absorption, and the willingness to engage with the unknown in order to grasp the full significance of the moment. The intensity of this experience also teaches lessons in patience and surrender. There is no need to force understanding or accelerate comprehension. The message unfolds at its own pace, revealing layers gradually to those willing to remain present. The observer's task is to remain attentive, to allow the message to penetrate without interference from judgment, expectation, or distraction. Emotional responses are natural indicators of engagement, highlighting areas of sensitivity, curiosity, or hesitation that must be acknowledged and honored. This heightened emotional state sharpens awareness, enabling the observer to notice details and insights that might otherwise go unnoticed. It is a reminder that being chosen comes with responsibility. The responsibility to receive fully, to honor the moment, and to integrate understanding in a way that respects both the message and the observer's own readiness. Solitude and intensity together create an environment where insight can emerge clearly, where every aspect of the encounter is magnified and clarified, and where comprehension becomes both personal and profound. Ultimately, the experience of being chosen to witness alone, accompanied by emotional intensity, is a call to presence, reflection, and understanding. The observer learns that some moments demand full engagement, that true insight requires attention undivided by distraction, and that the most significant truths often arrive with an emotional resonance that signals their importance. By embracing this intensity, the chosen one cultivates clarity, awareness, and receptivity, allowing the revelation to take root deeply within. In this process, watching alone becomes an act of active participation, a practice of attentiveness, and a pathway to transformation. The intensity felt is not merely temporary, it becomes a lasting impression, guiding thought, perception, and action long after the moment has passed, emphasizing that being chosen is not only about witnessing, but about learning, integrating, and growing from the experience fully. When instructed to watch alone, it is an invitation to enter a state of complete openness and receptivity. This moment is not merely about physical solitude, but about creating mental and emotional space where understanding can flow unimpeded. Solitude allows the observer to focus fully, free from distractions, judgments, and the expectations of others. It is a sacred pause, a deliberate withdrawal from the noise of daily life to meet the message on its own terms. In this space, attention is undivided, awareness is heightened, and the observer can sense the subtleties and nuances that might be overlooked in a shared setting. Watching alone demands patience and discipline, for the process is not instantaneous. It requires a willingness to engage with what is unfolding at its own pace. This practice of presence teaches the value of stillness, of listening deeply, and of being attuned to every detail, every subtle shift, and every unspoken signal. The moment becomes a mirror, reflecting not only the message itself, but also the readiness, openness, and humility of the observer. By fully embracing solitude, the chosen one allows the message to resonate in its purest form, facilitating clarity and insight that can transform perception and understanding. Solitude in this context is not a form of isolation, but a deliberate cultivation of focus and presence. The observer is asked to quiet internal distractions such as doubts, expectations, and assumptions so that the message can emerge without distortion. This requires discipline and conscious attention, as well as a willingness to let go of the urge to control or predict the outcome. In this focused state, intuition is sharpened, subtle meanings become clear, and patterns that are ordinarily hidden can be perceived. The chosen one learns to trust the process, understanding that insight arrives not through force or haste, but through patient observation and engagement. Emotional responses, curiosity, awe, or even hesitation, are natural and serve as indicators of the significance of the moment. These responses heighten awareness and deepen the connection between the observer and the message. By practicing such attentive observation, the chosen one develops not only understanding but also the ability to integrate the revelation into life thoughtfully and meaningfully. Solitude becomes a vehicle for comprehension, reflection, and transformation, enabling the observer to absorb the full weight and depth of the experience. Ultimately, being instructed to watch alone emphasizes the sacredness of attention, the value of presence, and the transformative power of focused observation. In solitude, the observer is invited to meet truth directly, unmediated by external influence or distraction, allowing the revelation to take root deeply and authentically. This process teaches patience, humility, and reverence for the unfolding of insight, reinforcing the idea that some truths are too profound to be fully grasped without concentrated engagement. By embracing the discipline of solitude, the chosen one cultivates clarity, understanding, and awareness, transforming the act of watching into a meaningful encounter that shapes perception, informs thought, and guides action. The experience demonstrates that presence itself is a conduit for insight, and that observing alone is not just a moment of attention, but a pathway to comprehension, reflection, and personal growth, leaving a lasting impression on both mind and heart. Being chosen to witness something alone does not guarantee ease or comfort. In fact, the experience often brings challenges that test both patience and readiness. The message or insight may be profound, complex, or unfamiliar, requiring the observer to confront uncertainty and navigate the unknown. This is not a moment for avoidance or distraction. It is a time to meet the revelation directly, with courage and attentiveness. Inner resistance may arise naturally, questions, doubts, and fears, but these are not obstacles to be ignored. They are signals that the observer is engaging deeply, that the moment carries significance, and that full attention is required to receive what is being offered. The act of watching alone is a discipline of presence, an exercise in mindfulness, and a practice in surrendering control. It asks the observer to trust the process, to allow insight to unfold gradually, and to resist the temptation to impose interpretation prematurely. In doing so, the observer creates a space for clarity, understanding, and connection to emerge naturally, where the message can be received in its full depth without distortion from distraction, judgment, or external influence. The challenge of solitude, then, is also its gift. It trains awareness, strengthens perception, and cultivates the humility necessary to truly comprehend a revelation of significance. Solitude in this context serves as both a mirror and a crucible. The observer is invited to examine readiness, to notice internal reactions, and to align thought, emotion, and intention with the unfolding moment. The process may not be comfortable, yet discomfort signals growth and engagement. By observing alone, the chosen one learns to navigate uncertainty without fear, to respond with discernment rather than impulse, and to absorb meaning with patience and reverence. Each detail, each subtle cue carries significance, and the observer is called to remain attuned to the totality of the experience. Emotional responses, such as awe, apprehension, or curiosity, are natural guides, indicating the depth of the encounter. By allowing these feelings to exist without resistance, the observer develops the capacity to integrate the revelation into understanding, shaping both thought and action. Solitude, therefore, is not isolation, but a method of preparation, ensuring that the insight received is fully appreciated and thoughtfully applied. Ultimately, being chosen to witness alone emphasizes trust, presence, and readiness. The experience teaches that revelation often arrives with challenge, and that true understanding requires engagement, patience, and a willingness to sit with uncertainty. By embracing the process, the observer cultivates resilience, clarity, and discernment. Watching alone becomes more than observation. It becomes active participation in the unfolding of insight, where attention, reflection, and receptivity converge. This practice transforms fleeting moments into lasting understanding, reminding the chosen one that the value of revelation lies not only in what is witnessed, but also in how it is received, integrated, and honored. Solitude, challenge, and openness together create a pathway for comprehension that is authentic, profound, and enduring, leaving a permanent imprint on awareness, perspective, and purpose. The instruction to watch alone emphasizes the sacredness of attention, revealing that how we focus can determine the depth of understanding we achieve. In daily life, attention is divided and diluted by countless distractions, responsibilities, and external influences. Yet some moments demand complete presence because the insight they carry is too profound to be absorbed superficially. Being chosen to witness alone is an invitation to honor that sacredness, to cultivate undivided focus, and to allow every detail, gesture, and nuance to be fully perceived. This is not a passive experience. It requires active engagement, patience, and conscious awareness. By observing alone, the chosen one can enter a state of heightened perception, where subtleties that are normally overlooked become visible and meaningful. The act of attentive observation transforms the observer into a participant in the unfolding of understanding, connecting mind, heart, and spirit. In solitude, the observer learns the value of presence, discovering that attention itself can become a medium for insight. It teaches that some truths are too intricate, too delicate, or too powerful to be shared casually, and that their significance is amplified when witnessed fully and uninterrupted. Watching alone is both a responsibility and a privilege, demanding reverence for the moment and readiness to receive insight that may leave a lasting impression on perception, thought, and action. This focus on undivided attention is also a practice in discipline and mindfulness. The observer is asked to set aside internal chatter, preconceived notions, and external distractions to create an environment in which understanding can emerge naturally. Solitude allows the observer to notice patterns, connections, and meanings that may otherwise remain hidden. Emotional responses, such as curiosity, wonder, or apprehension, become signals of engagement, guiding awareness and deepening the encounter. By cultivating this state of focused observation, the chosen one strengthens both perception and comprehension, learning to receive revelation with clarity and discernment. It becomes evident that being chosen is not about privilege or status, but about readiness to engage fully, to respect the weight of the message, and to integrate insight thoughtfully. Solitude, therefore, is a tool for preparation, reflection, and connection, enabling the observer to receive what is being shown with undiluted attention, awareness, and presence. Ultimately, the experience of watching alone teaches the value of attentiveness, patience, and reverence for truth. Some messages are too intricate, profound, or transformative to be grasped in shared distraction, and it is in solitude that their full meaning can be absorbed. The chosen observer learns that attention is itself sacred, that focused presence allows revelation to resonate, and that engagement in its purest form produces understanding that is authentic, lasting, and meaningful. By honoring the act of watching alone, the observer becomes fully immersed in the process of learning and perception, transforming a fleeting moment into a profound and enduring experience. In this way, solitude, awareness, and attentiveness converge to create clarity, insight, and the capacity to integrate understanding into both thought and action, leaving a permanent imprint on consciousness and purpose. Ultimately, the experience of being chosen to witness alone is a profound call to responsibility, reflection, and transformation. It emphasizes that insight is not merely given, but entrusted, requiring the observer to engage fully with what is revealed. This moment carries weight because it is rare, fleeting, and deeply personal, a convergence of awareness, timing, and readiness that cannot be replicated or shared in the same way with others. Solitude allows the chosen one to absorb the message in its entirety, noticing details and subtleties that are easily lost in distraction or shared observation. The act of watching alone creates space for clarity, enabling understanding to emerge naturally, layer by layer, without the distortion of external noise or internal resistance. In this focused engagement, the observer learns that comprehension is not a passive act, but an active participation, requiring attention, patience, and humility. Every gesture, every nuance, every shift carries meaning, and the responsibility of being chosen lies in recognizing the significance of these elements. Through this engagement, the observer begins to integrate insight into thought, perception, and ultimately action, transforming a brief moment into a lasting impact on understanding and purpose. The experience reinforces that some truths are inherently personal and that their value is amplified when received with full awareness and presence. Being entrusted with such a moment also cultivates patience, openness, and discernment. The observer is called to release the need for immediate answers or outcomes, to allow the revelation to unfold at its own pace, and to remain present even in uncertainty. Emotional responses, whether awe, curiosity, or apprehension, serve as guides, signaling the depth and importance of the encounter. By honoring these emotions and observing them without resistance, the chosen one strengthens capacity for insight and comprehension. Solitude is not punishment or isolation. It is a sacred condition that facilitates genuine engagement, where clarity, understanding, and receptivity can flourish. The moment becomes a mirror, reflecting both the message itself and the readiness, attention, and openness of the observer. By fully participating in this process, the chosen one learns that watching alone is not merely an act of observation, but a practice in mindfulness, reflection, and responsibility. It transforms the experience into a living lesson, demonstrating that insight is not only received but earned through attention and presence. Ultimately, watching alone is a transformative